How do you secure the digital backbone of one of the world's largest retailers, all while fostering innovation and staying ahead of emerging threats? Well, my guest today is the Director of Security Engineering and Operations at Tesco, and she has carved out an impressive career in the world of security engineering, information governance and data privacy. And with an interesting background that spans leadership roles at global companies from Flutter International to Skyscanner, my guest today brings a wealth of experience in protecting vast amounts of customer data and navigating the complex intersection of technology, security and privacy. So in this episode today, we're going to learn more about my guest's journey from safeguarding online platforms and leading security tribes to her current mission at Tesco. And we'll also explore how her team is tackling the unique challenges of retail security, which is of particular importance in this era of rapid technological change. And we'll also explore what it's like to drive innovation while ensuring the security of millions of customers. And we'll also touch on the importance of diversity in tech and how initiatives at Tesco and beyond are paving the way for more inclusive teams in the security sector. Delivering daily content to 140,000 of you wonderful monthly listeners across the globe is no small feat. I don't want to take all the credit here because it wouldn't be possible without the backing of our dedicated sponsors and partners. And I also want to shine a light on the fact that legacy managed file transfer tools are looking dated. They often lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. And companies that continue relying on that outdated tech, they're in danger of putting their sensitive data at risk. Attention IT professionals, are you tired of juggling these multiple servers for secure file sharing? Integrated shared folders and email plus a comprehensive REST API. Kiteworks simplifies your workflow. For administrators, you can experience unmatched functionality and integration that traditional MFT servers just can't touch. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks by going to kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com. And remember, Kiteworks is also FedRAMP moderate authorized. Thank you for your patience today. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It's time to welcome my guest onto the show. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to London here in the UK, where my guest today is going to talk about applying her knowledge to protect one of the most recognisable brands in retail. But enough from me. Let's get my guest on now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Nate, for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you today. So my name is Veroniki Stamati. I am the Director of Security Engineering and Operations at Tesco. But what I really do is I orchestrate a number of teams and colleagues to make sure that we keep Tesco secure. We do this by uncovering opportunities, bringing new ideas to solve security problems that we all face in the industry every day. And me and my team we aspire to make security everybody's job.
It's a huge responsibility there. And one of the things that I always try and do with my guests is maybe get them to look back at their career and look at how your experiences might have shaped what you're doing right now. So I've got to ask, I mean, looking at your extensive background in security for online platforms and travel and so many other different variations there, I'm curious, how has that background and your experience influenced your approach to leading the security engineering organisation at Tesco?
It's a great question, Neil. And often I look back at my journey. I started from consultancy, and when I started in tech, I fell in love with tech, and I'm not going back, right? And I'm sure a lot of people would say that too. This really changed completely my whole mindset because, as you mentioned, like dealing with online platforms and Skyscanner, we were offering choices of travel to hundreds of millions of people across the world. In Flutter International, with things like PokerStars, platforms, it's one of the biggest poker brands and online gaming brands in the world. The way our customers think, the way that they interact with the online world and the technology that is used to offer these products really changed my mindset as to how we need to be doing security as well, which is why I brought into Tesco, and they've already had that in place as well. Some of the more specific examples, especially within the adopting of the engineering concepts and the methodologies that people in our product and experimentation sort of environment are using, is what I really learned that we need to start exploring within our security domain. So experimentation was a big one for me. You talk to, online people and they talk about canary deployment and A/B testing of features and how something would land with our customers and what they would like, how they would interact with it. We didn't really do much of that in security in the past. And when I got exposed to the technology world and all of these mindsets, it was really interesting for me to how do we bring this into security. If you look at how we interact with our internal colleagues here in Tesco and how I was interacting with our internal employees in all of my other companies, we actually have a product, a security product that we offer to them. We need to experiment and make sure that what features and controls and policies and security guardrails and controls we put in place resonate with them. They can use them. They're most friendly, but also they protect our environment in Tesco in this particular situation. So that was one big learning and something that shaped my mindset and my thinking in security engineering. The second one was about delivering platforms as a service. A lot of our job in security is being always to tell people, you can't do this, you need to follow these processes, you need to be really rigid. We've got environment to protect. The attacks, the threats are real, right? We're not saying it just for saying it. It is true. But how do we make it more of as a service? Is the learnings that I got from me working in online platforms all of these years. Is things like, how can we build in those concepts and those security controls and guardrails within the platforms that our developers use to create the product, or our commercial teams are using to find out what, real life products would resonate with our people in the stores. And if we can do that and we can know that the underlying platform is secure, then it is a lot easier to partner with them and kind of figure out the more nuanced things that we're going to have to do. So that was a second one. And then everything, there's a little bit of a buzzword here, but like everything is a code. We started off from compliance as code, especially within the worlds of governance, risk and compliance, which was quite a different take on what security engineering is. Because security engineering for a lot of people is you go on and write some rules, you create some detections to identify threats and so on and so forth. You can do a lot more if you apply that principle. You can really kind of like make a developer's life a lot easier if you build everything as a code. So these three main areas really, really influenced my approach to security engineering, which we're really pursuing here as well in Tesco, and I've done in my previous careers and positions too.
And as you said there, you've enjoyed such a fantastic career where you've transitioned from companies like Flutter International to Skyscanner to a retail giant like Tesco. And there are so many big tech trends, security trends. I'm curious, out of everything you've seen, how has the shift impacted your maybe strategic approach to technology and security, especially now where everybody's talking and getting excited about AI and going all in on AI, and then equally anyone with a security mindset or an IT mindset is like, well, let's just slow down a minute here. How are we protecting this data, etc.? I'm curious how everything you've seen, how that shift has impacted your strategic approach.
I was waiting for when the AI word would come in. Absolutely, yes. So it's been really interesting, and I have been immensely lucky to experience that journey. I'm very honored for every single organization that I've been in, it taught me a lot. One thing that is very interesting is like security problems for every organization are pretty much the same. We don't necessarily find different aspects and different problems that we have not faced ever before within the security domain. Like we all talk about people have to fix their vulnerabilities. We all talk about protecting our data, as you absolutely mentioned. We all talk about how do we adopt new technologies in a more secure way, and how we enable our product people and our developers to do better. But really what the big differences and what I've learned from that is that from a strategic point of view, which is kind of like what you're asking through this question, is predominantly the size of the organization matters. The complexity and the structure of the programs really shift and change depending on how the risk profile of each organization is, and having the ability to have seen places which, Flat International, we're heavily regulated, obviously, as you would expect, doing everything by the letter of the regulator and all of that stuff. Not that in other organizations we don't do it, but there are different levels of scrutiny depending on your environment that you have to go through. And clearly, having been in a place where you can shift your strategy and how you create your framework, a security framework, to support the business strategy in Tesco, our goal is to feed the nation, right? We need to do that in a way that we enable the business and we protect the business from a security threat, because actually what you get from us is essential food, right? It's so important, so paramount, whereas you can argue like, okay, travel and gaming is a little bit more, entertaining activities and pleasure, and it's very different from a perspective of how you shape your strategy and where then security fits in that. So it's been really interesting for me to kind of look at how can we create roadmaps, how can we create strategies through different sort of risk-based profiles, and how does that change our operational priorities, essentially, and how we shape the teams, how do we partner with the business. And this is kind of like the biggest shift in my strategic thinking. It's more about what does the business want to achieve first, not what security problems we have to solve. And then how do we support the business to do that will vary massively between all of these places.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, especially around what does the business need to do first. And very often we look at the technology first, which is the worst thing that you can do. It's all about the business problem first. And all the excitement of AI that we're hearing at the moment, I think it's also important to remember we've been here many times before, from the arrival of the internet to the arrival of the iPhone and mobile first strategies, and everyone wanting a mobile app for everything. And when it comes to things like digital disruption and high pace of technological change, there is this huge rush of wanting to make changes quickly. But I'm curious, in your current role at Tesco, how do you balance that drive for technological innovation with the imperative to ensure robust security and data privacy and all the stuff that we don't talk about enough? It is quite a delicate balance. How do you get that right at Tesco?
It is very delicate, but we have an amazing, I call them my unique and beautiful people in the team. And we always make sure that we look after the basics first, right? We've got our processes right and we know things are running. But then we have invested heavily in the elements of trialing things and new technologies within security, and not only actually within Tesco. Technology is very innovative. We are trying a lot of things all the time, and we are, we call our tagline is Tesco's tomorrow made by you. So we do enable all of our people across technology here in Tesco to kind of come up with ideas and speak to the likes of our product people and our technology people to come up with innovation, experimentation, and so on and so forth. Within specifically the space of security, I guess we've are exploring two routes mainly of where we want to experiment and where we want to innovate more. And it's around how to bring in the product discipline and mindset within security that will allow us to kind of look at, and we constantly go and assess, what have we got today? Is it fit for purpose? If you want to compare it to the market, features and the technology that is available out there, are we keeping at least on par, if not trying to innovate in the areas that really matter for us? And we take time, and we've got space to think, and we've got environments that allow us to do that thinking in the planning, whilst all of our operational and core controls and processes are running as expected, which is really nice. We are hiring, so if I can take that opportunity, that we are looking for people to come and help us with that for sure in product space for security specifically. But also the second one is we cannot hide from the fact that we're going to have to, all of us, embed machine learning LLMs within our space. I'm trying to avoid using the word of AI because it's a lot more components underneath that, but delivery, right? So one of the big things that I'm really, really excited about us doing here, and I have seen a need for all of us in the industry, is to kind of analyze and create models of all of the vast of security data that we create. I think there's a number of people in the industry that they talk about the fact that we've got so many security products that we rely on today in our business to protect Tesco, to protect all of the companies in general across the industry. They generate a vast amount of data, events, compliance, data configurations, issues, anything you can imagine. For someone to really analyze that is really challenging, and to kind of like see the wood through the trees and kind of create information out of data points. So we are really want to innovate with like data security platforms and data lakes and building our LLMs, create machine learning on top of those data points. And this is another area that we are really taking in for innovation. We really want to kind of push along and create an initiative on that too. So these are the two areas that we really want to explore. And we really want to balance that sort of, we don't want to stay behind. We want to push ahead. We want to enhance what we've got all the time. And want to be better. So these are the two ones.
And you mentioned that you are looking to hire people at the moment. Is there any particular roles or skills that you're looking for at the moment? Is there a shortage of certain skill sets? Anything you want to shout about there if we do have the perfect candidate listening?
There's always shortage in skills and good people in security. We always want them. So people can reach out to our talent teams any moment. But predominantly, we are building those capabilities around product security and data analytics and data security engineering. Security engineering is always an area that we're looking for people as well, and especially within the domain of our partnering with our business and developers, so around application security and so on and so forth. So yeah, if I could touch on one single person that is listening right now and they can apply, they can go on and find out our Tesco careers listings on our website.
Of course, right at the heart of everything, this is a tech podcast, but your mission is to feed the nation there. So how do you approach building secure products that need to cater for not just millions of users, but millions of users with diverse needs and a diverse audience from every class throughout the nation there? Anything you can share around that?
Secure products is a big conversation. It is very different, like every single product or feature we develop. And actually, if you go into a store in Tesco, technology is present in the stores. You might not really realize it 100%, but from our deals to the scales that you weigh your vegetables, they've got some element of technology. That fascinated me when I joined, by the way. So we have an approach we call it business partnering. So we've got security engineers and experts that sit within those domains and support all of our business functions across their own journey in exploring of rolling out those products, creating their offerings either in the stores or e-commerce or online across all of that spectrum. And essentially from being with them, sitting with them, understanding their problem space, what they want to do, what they want to achieve, we then create more tailored security advice, security solutions to kind of support them. And that's the main way of developing those products. Security, obviously, we've got a number of accelerators and security capabilities and tools and all of the great stuff you would expect from a technology point of view and process on the background that enable that and empower that happen on our underlying platforms. But truly, the biggest differentiator is the people talking to people and exploring what would happen if someone was to explore to exploit that particular environment or feature. And that is a great differentiator. People always make the difference.
And I'm curious, if we go back a couple of years, I think on Black Friday that's coming up, a huge sale day in the US and increasingly so over here in the UK, there's going to be a lot of security threats that take down retailers during their busiest day of the year. And that's going to be top of mind for a lot of retailers listening around the world. I'm curious, what are some of the significant security threats that you see facing retailers today? And how are you and your team at Tesco innovating to try and stay ahead of these challenges as we all approach that crazy season, holiday season that's coming up?
Oh, there is no shortage of threats. Let's put it that way. Let's start from there. The reality is a lot of us have learned from over the past years as to how we need to deal with intentional or unintentional denial of service attacks, which is obviously kind of unexpected in big times like Black Friday events, etc. I think the industry is in a good place on that. Yeah. Let's be honest. We've got a lot more capabilities from really experienced vendors and partners today to deal with those things, and especially with the shift to sort of cloud technologies and engineering, creating the capacity for the demand in scenarios like that is being now a standard, right? Now, in terms of the threats of today, I don't actually think that they're specific to retailers, if I may say that name. They are something that we all face. But if we were to take a little bit more of a double click into our own environment, the truth is that there are three aspects that for us as retailers is worth calling out. First of all, our customers, and you've seen this throughout COVID, period where everybody embraced a lot more of the online, the e-commerce, the ordering at home, and kind of like the omni-channel experience of a retailer. Let's put it that way. It has increased and it has maintained. So a lot of opportunities have been created for scammers to target our own customers. It's not something that directly impacts potentially our own operations as retailers, but it's something that we've got a huge role to play. So one of the big examples is that we're seeing multiple of scamming websites, and you usually go to the stores and you would have coupons, you would have vouchers that you use, especially to kind of like reward our customers and so on and so forth. There's a lot of scams in that area, and we certainly have a responsibility to try and be proactive and identify those scams so we can actually protect our own customers. And good examples of that is we find for malicious registered websites that are trying to impersonate us. And we've got processes to try and kind of use legal avenues and so on and so forth to take them down. And it's a constant hunt. A lot of businesses are facing it, not only retailers, to be honest with you, but it is quite prominent in that because people want to shop, people want to get the bargain. The second one, retail organizations are really attracting attacks. It is inevitable. We have millions of customers that we know their habits, we know who they are, we know what they need. We've got a lot of information about them, and people know that. They shop with us, so they pay. And in terms of the ability to kind of improve our distributions and our offerings in the stores, as retailers, we all use data. I think it's inevitable we are going to rely on this data to make sure that our drivers take the biggest and most effective routes to get your order as soon as possible to you. Or our picking is done in very fashionable and quick order based on like your preferences, because you go in and you say, I don't want to replace this item and I want to replace that item. And there is an element of kind of like you talking through a data to us, essentially. We've got a lot, and attacks are being targeted to us on the basis of ultimately data theft, right? That's a big threat that we're facing. We have seen in the industry, not only in retailers, a huge increase of data thefts by info stealers, which is a prominent threat that we're facing. There was a report actually from IBM, if I'm not mistaken, and it quoted that last year, compared to last year, it was a 266% increase on that type of threat or attack and attack vector, which is huge. It's huge, right? Ultimately, as well, what is happening through this is a lot of credential stealing. Ultimately, the sort of malicious attacks in the community is shifted to, we want to try and get in and log in before we try and hack in, because actually it's going to expedite the time that they have to steal data for. So there is a huge increase in initial access brokers within the dark web and everything that provide valid credentials to hacking organizations that can come in and actually utilize that. And through the in-house stealers, which is the other attack vector, they also can get valid credentials if they were able to infiltrate and push malware and other malicious software into people's software through traditional threat vectors like phishing, and email security has not gone away. So these are some of the true threats that we face today, retailers and other organizations. And last but not least, there is a threat which I wouldn't necessarily call a threat, but it depends as to how an organization is prepared today. There is regulation change that is happening across the, especially the European Union. I appreciate we are talking to a very diverse audience, but down in the European Union, it is quite interesting to look at the developments around the NIS2 directive that has come out, because it has expanded its scope, and especially for some of the retail areas who are producing food, processing or distributing food, they may come into scope. That talks a lot about essentially how resilient you are, have you got your operations in a state that if there is disruption, you can essentially still perform your function, which is pretty important, as we talked about already. So depending on how you're prepared as a retailer or not, if you fall in the scope of that, could be a threat or an opportunity to kind of like differentiate yourself. So I guess to summarize, we have to protect our customers from the threats they're facing as proactive as possible as we have. We have to protect our organizations from people who are trying to get in and steal our data. And we have to be prepared for how we deal with the regulations that are constantly changing around our environment.
And I guess we should also mention the things that are outside of our control. And if I look at everything from banking to retail this year, there's been a lot of downtime that have been caused by changes that software updates or things like that maybe got through change management process or something, and it's taken down abilities to take payments or allow people to access their accounts and things. That was nothing that you could have predicted, really, because it's the third party that have made that software update, and that can cause expensive downtime for any organisation too, right?
Such an interesting time in the industry on the back of a big incident which happened. Obviously, I will leave it to you if you want to mention the vendor, although I feel sorry for them and I feel for them, because actually like they're doing a brilliant job, but it can happen to anyone. Because it can happen to anyone that we make a change, we didn't test it, we've done it many times, we're confident in our processes. Obviously, it was a very, very, baseline error. But baseline errors can happen to anyone. I've been in businesses that we've done this, but obviously it's more consolidated to the impact of the business and over a small period of time. What is truly important is that preparedness for recovery, because we cannot avoid making change mistakes. We will all do that one day or the other. Unfortunately, it's inevitable. It is the true nature. We're relying on people who are writing code, who are writing configurations, who are posting templates, whatever that might be in their job. And then we make a mistake. We only learn from mistakes. That's the culture we're preaching. That's the culture we're adopting in our organizations. So we should embrace it. What can we learn from that as an industry is about being prepared to recover very quickly. And I think through the experience of the past sort of months where significant changes impacted 8.5 million people across the world, from travel to banking, as you said, and other domains, it's also an element of how were these businesses ready to deal with a disruptive incident in that occasion. This was caused by one particular supplier, but it can happen even by an organization.
100% with you. I was talking to another cybersecurity leader recently, and they, much like you, spoke of the importance of preparedness and asking businesses why they're not doing tabletop exercises. What would happen if this incident occurred? Have you got a marketing team or somebody from the communications team that knows exactly how to prepare that press release and react and how you fix it? It's preparedness all day long. So thank you for sharing that. It's so much more important than the blame game that we often see in the media. And also, just changing topics slightly, as a leader in tech, you've been a strong advocate for diversity and female representation in the industry. It is such an important topic. We have seen a lot of improvements over the years, still so much work that needs to be done around that. And I think it's so important when the world of technology and solving problems are very complex, and you need a diverse set of opinions and diverse way of thinking. So I've got to ask, what initiatives have you found most effective in promoting diversity within your teams and attracting more diversity into the industry? Because there's somewhat of a problem sometimes where people think, hey, I'm not techie enough, or that's not for me. Where it's quite the opposite. There's so many transferable skills, especially in corporate spaces, that people can bring into the world of tech. But what are you noticing that's effective here?
It's such a huge topic about what does diversity actually mean, in my opinion, because you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned diversity of thought and skill sets. It's so paramount, especially if you look at the security problems we have to face. You usually have to deal with people. So when you have to deal with people who come from a psychology background, behavioral background, with huge value to offer, for example, which is something that no one would think of, like, I can apply those skill sets to tech. We've talked about this in our industry quite a lot, though, so it's becoming a lot more. And I have examples. So we've got behavioral scientists in the team, for example, here in Tesco Security, which is fascinating, right? We've got people who come from police investigative backgrounds, and they had never touched technology because they were on the field. But actually, the skill set of how do we investigate? How do we break the problem down? How do we respond to an incident? It's skill that can come into our business and be extremely valuable. We don't only need engineers. We don't only need security analysts and people who know security. We need people who come from even infrastructure backgrounds and so on and so forth. I know it's technology thing, but there are so many different areas that we can bring together. To talk a little bit more about a topic that is quite close to me as well in terms of the female representation, however, and the early careers aspects, I feel that there is a lot of initiatives which work well when they work at early stages. I have been very, very privileged in my early career days, when I was in consultancy still, to work with tech colleges across the UK. One particular was the Tech College in Reading, for example, and they had created that STEM environment for kids of 14, 16 years old, if I remember right now, that they were able to go in there and explore, and there were suppliers and vendors, and they could train them. They could get involved into sort of like learning how a network is created, and all of these things that they were involved from early days. In my local mall, actually, this year, there was Ninja Coders for 4 and 5 and 6-year-old kids that they could involve. I think these are the things and the initiatives that truly matter for us to make change and bring in people in from diverse thought and experience, and allow people, when they're exploring their career paths, when they mature a little bit more, to go, I can do that. There are some other initiatives, however, that I think are worth calling out, and I've been involved, and I've seen them reap benefits a lot. And these are what we call train, deploy, and hire initiatives and suppliers and partners that we've got. There are people like Code for Girls, for example, that they can sponsor bursaries as an organization with them, and they have security. And I'm calling out one, but there are many others like Grace and other companies as well. But they do that. And they offer people from end careers the ability to kind of get exposed, get trained, with the promise that if they do well, they've got a job as well on the back of that in someone like Tesco, someone like another company. We are exploring those opportunities, and I've seen them in other places that they work really, really well. I'm open to say that because Skyscanner says it as well. We had a partnership with Code for Girls, and it's worked significantly well. Sometimes also it's about taking a step, and that's kind of my personal opinion and stance, in saying we're going to push for equity occasionally, and we're going to only sponsor a program, for example, for girls if your goal is to attract more females. But also it's about how do we then promote an environment and scenarios of like late career changes. So we've got a significant amount of population who's got tremendous experience and knowledge, but they haven't been exposed to tech. We are looking to invest in programs like this, for example, in Tesco, to kind of look at, through this train, deploy, and hire, how can we actually give opportunities to everybody and be diverse and bring that diverse thought and experience, because they have a lot to offer. And last but not least, obviously, especially within the organization, we've got women mentorship programs, we've got other mentorship programs for everybody as well, and we treat everybody super fairly, and we try and make sure that everybody is seen and everybody is supported.
Such an important point to raise today. And you and your team obviously play a crucial role in protecting Tesco and its brand, but we've now got one eye on 2025 already, only a few months away. And looking ahead, what emerging technologies or trends do you believe will significantly impact the future of security in retail? What excites you? What keeps you up at night? What are you seeing here?
Well, thankfully, not much keeps me up at night, as long as there isn't an incident that is gonna ring the phone. But in terms of what excites me, it doesn't. I know we're trying to avoid that as much as possible in terms of the buzzwords and stuff. But yeah. Gen AI, not AI in general, but Gen AI, I think is a huge change factor and technology and trend that we're gonna significantly see coming in and creating change within security space. We, from a perspective of both how we as security people use it to kind of like optimize our own processes and so on and so forth, how we create solutions and products that our own internal customers, as I called them out earlier, can actually consume our advice and our services. I was actually reading yesterday about some innovative Gen AI sort of developments in security, and someone has already created the first SOC analyst in Gen AI. So I've not tested it. I don't know how it works and whether it does perform, and I bet it does not outperform a human, but it's already out there. So we can't hide from the fact that we're going to have to look at how we embed, adopt, or at least, if not, we do it consciously rather than not as a trend. So it's huge. And especially with the shift to the data platform engineering and becoming a lot more data security driven, I think it's inevitable that we're going to need all that to be able to get information and insights from the vast amount of the security data that we have.
Wow, that's a powerful moment to end on, and almost a teaser for our next conversation, maybe next year, to see how that evolves. But for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about anything we talked about today, including the career stuff that you mentioned too, where's the best place for listeners to find you or your team online and just dig a little bit deeper on any of the topics we explored together?
Yeah, unfortunately, we are quite careful what we say online, and you can imagine, like in security space, we are a little bit cautious, sometimes a bit much, but it does serve a purpose. So I am on LinkedIn. I don't really post too much there, so but people can contact me. I predominantly maintain peer relationships. I am a member of the CISO alliances, and people can follow some of our research from that personally. In terms of Tesco, our public blogs and posts from our corporate website, but people can reach out on LinkedIn. Absolutely, we are very open to talk to people on a more individual basis. So I hope that does the trick.
100%. I will get links added to some of those areas so people can find you nice and easily. And I think I've loved chatting with you today about so many different areas, from the transition to working in tech at a retailer and experiencing how technology is harnessed at a huge retailer such as Tesco, and your role and expertise in everything from security, engineering and operations, and how your not only yourself but your team's work, how it endeavours to protect Tesco and its brand, but also shining an important light on diversity and female representation in the tech industry. We covered a lot there. We didn't mention too many buzzwords, so thank you for sharing that with me today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed that today.
So what does it take to secure a giant like Tesco? As we heard from my guest today, I think it's a blend of innovation, strategic thinking, and a relentless focus on protecting customer data. And I think her insights into the evolving landscape of retail security reveal a sector that's not just about keeping threats at bay, but also about enabling the business to thrive in a digital-first world. And we also touched on the significance of diversity in tech, especially within security teams. And I think their commitment to fostering a diverse and inclusive environment highlights the growing recognition that different perspectives are essential to tackle today's complex security challenges. But as we move forward, how do you see the trends we discussed today, from the rise of generative AI and data-driven security? How do you see that shaping the future of your industry? And what part of my guest's approach will you apply in your own work? And how can we all collectively push the boundaries of security in a way that not just protects, but empowers your organisation? Please let me know. techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. Pop me a quick message, question, request to come on the show, whatever it is. Easiest guy in the world to find, so please send me a message there. And remember, stay tuned for more episodes where every day we continue exploring the cutting edge of technology, its impact on our businesses, our life, and beyond. But that's it for today. So thank you for listening as always, and I will be back bright and early tomorrow with another guest. Speak with you then.